I'll explain all that. But I think we can just go ahead and get going now on this. So welcome to another episode of the Scurf Show. This is your host, Nick Scurfield. We're recording on Instagram Live. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Very excited today to be joined by one of my favorite all-time Houston Texans, 10-year NFL veteran, 4 years with the Texans, 6 with the Detroit Lions. He made the Pro Bowl and led the NFL in interceptions in 2014. Of course, that was with Detroit and not Houston, unfortunately. And now an emerging media mogul, Glover Quin. How you doing, Glover?
Man, I'm doing good, man. How are you? Appreciate the intro, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know who we're talking to here. Are you in Houston now? Did you move back to Houston after football?
Yeah. We got, it's crazy. I always loved Houston, man. I love the city. I always wanted to live here, even before I got drafted here. I used to come out here a lot as a kid. And so when I got drafted here, man, it was just like a match made in heaven. So we bought a house at the time, and over the course of my career, we bought some land and ended up building a house. So, yep, we're in Houston.
Awesome. So we'll be talking for 30, 40 minutes or so. And if you have questions for Glover, please send them in. We'll try and get to some at the end or throughout the interview. Glover, like myself, is from Mississippi. We want to talk about that a little bit, how you made it to the NFL from there. Also, some news happening in the state of Mississippi in the last few days on the positive side for a change. And we want to talk about your NFL background, some memories of Houston, Glover, and Detroit. But I wanted to start out with what you're doing now. And I want to plug real quick before I have you explain it, the DB Room, your new show, and also Clix Media, your company. Can you, I guess, first start with what is Clix Media?
So Clix Media is just it's a production company that I started, and I really started because I wanted to sound official, I guess. I mean, when I first got into to doing videography, I was trying to do real estate videos and, just different types of things. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, if I start getting clients, I want to look official. I want to have like a company name. I don't want to be like, hey, yeah, it was just Glover Quin. Like, no, I don't want them to kind of see me as Glover Quin, the NFL player. I want them to see me as, this is a production company. This is what I do. This is what I'm trying to do. And so I was trying to think of names, and, different things were coming to mind. I didn't want it to be like Texans, Lions, or anything like that. But then I got to thinking, I was talking with my my marketing guy, and we were just kind of coming up with different names, man, and, different concepts. And I wanted something to represent me. I wanted something to represent what my company, what I would want it to represent. And so I got to thinking about my NFL career. And, in 10 years, I played in 159 out of 160 games. So I only missed one game my rookie year. And so it was a lot going on with the Ironman and just different things that I felt like I had to go through and fight through just to be able to play in every single game except for one. And so my marketing guy came at me. He was like, well, how about you call it 159 Media? And I was like, you know what? I kind of like 159. But then I was like, So then we took it a little farther, and we looked at it in Roman numerals. So CLIX is actually the Roman numeral for 159. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I like that because it's the Roman numeral for 159, but it says Clix. So it looks pretty cool. And I was like, with cameras and, even media today, what do people want? They want clicks, right? They want clicks. And so
Right.
that was kind of the whole thought behind it. It's like, you know what? I'm going to start Clix Media, man.
I love that. And the Instagram is at Clix Media US, right?
Yeah.
Clix
And
Media.
And I was trying to separate, because I have my personal Instagram page, which, I post, my personal life. And on the Clix page, I try to post things that I do, video related, production wise. I had stopped for a little while because I was getting caught up in doing other things. But I was like, you know what? People that follow me personally, they may not be into the video stuff. And so they may want to see my kids and, some of the things I post on my personal page. And I was like, you know what? There may be some people that want to be interested in the video stuff or the media stuff. And so they can follow that page. And so, yeah, I run probably like 4 Instagram pages.
A lot to keep up with.
It's a lot, man.
So we got a few people joining here. It's gonna Shelby Yannick just joined, who works with me in the Scurfield group. Her dad, Kevin Bastine, of course.
K Bizzle.
Shelby just waved. We had T Lovey commented, yes, we love the kids.
Appreciate it.
Proving Ground SSP says GQ with a few exclamations. Bright Mo 48223 says, my boy Glover Detroit misses you. Klein,
you guys, man.
Gary Kubiak's son. What's up, Klein?
What up, Klein?
So we got a few folks in here, and like I said, if you have questions for Glover on the Instagram Live, please send them in, and we'll try and get to a few before the end of the interview. But on the Clix, I love the name, man, and the Roman numerals. I didn't realize that. And talking about 159 games, I saw that. I was actually talking with the Texans the other day, and he was doing some research and noticed that you started every single game from 2010 to 2018, every single game of the full 16-game season. I think it was 12 games before that in your rookie year in Houston. And, man, a testament to the hard work that you put in for sure.
It was crazy. I started every single game that I played in after week 3. So wow. I had started up until I got hurt, and I missed that one game, I think, week 13 of my rookie year. But from week 3, we had played Jacksonville, and I told this story on my channel. We had played Jacksonville in week 3 my rookie year, and defense just didn't play well. I played like 9 plays and came in on Wednesday, and Coach Gibbs, he just started benching guys, man. He benched, Fred Bennett. He benched Bryce McCain. They told Jock Reeves, remember Jock? They told Jock had broke his leg in training camp, I think, and they told him, hey, if you can walk, you starting. And that was his week that he was supposed to be coming back anyway. And we go out to practice on Wednesday, and first ball Jock tried to catch in warm-ups, he breaks his pinky, it popped through the skin, and so now I'm just like, oh wow, he done benched everybody, and Jock just got hurt. I wonder what we're gonna do now. And so that Thursday they told me that they were gonna let me start at corner, which I hadn't even been playing corner. I had been playing more for the nickel. And Frank Bush came to me and was like, hey, we're gonna let you start. Don't give us a reason to take it back, And every time I've told that story, just like however many games later, I never gave him a reason, man. So that's one thing I was pretty proud of, man, to come in and be able to earn a starting spot and then not give it up until I was done.
Absolutely. Definitely want to talk more about some football memories here in a little bit. Again, if you're just joining, we're with Glover Quin, former Houston Texans and Detroit Lions Pro Bowl back. Check out his business Instagram at Clix Media US, and then also the DB Room, your new show. So I see you have over 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel for the DB Room already, and you've been doing videos. What's the DB Room all about? Glover, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I kind of lost you. I didn't hear the question. I heard you say I got.
Oh yeah. So I was. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
These are the perils of Instagram Live technology. So we talked about Clix Media a little bit. Your video production company. The DB Room is a show that you've been doing. I saw you have over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube already, and you've been doing interviews with guys there. What's the DB Room all about?
So the DB Room kind of started. It basically kind of started off a limb, man. I remember sitting in my house during quarantine. This is where it all started, during quarantine, and we're in the family group text, and we got to talking about some stuff, and I brought up how I had met Lil Wayne back in my sophomore year of high school. And I went to sleep that night. I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna tell that story. And I was like, that's a pretty cool story. I'm gonna tell that story. So I couldn't sleep that night because I started thinking of so many different stories that I could tell. And I got up the next morning. It was a Friday, and I, recorded it and I put it out on Instagram, and it got some good views, right? So I was like, man, that was pretty cool. And people was like, man, we need some more stories, right? And so the next week, I did a story about how I picked six Matt Ryan. And some people saw it as a play breakdown, but it was more so the story about what went into it, how it all happened, just kind of the backstory about, and the lesson was all in the preparation, the trust, all those different things, right? And that story got over 11,000 views, I think. So I was like, wow, okay, this is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I told another story. I told a story about, when I caught the 3 picks in Houston. I told a story about when I got my first start. And people was asking for more like play breakdowns. Like, man, we want to hear play breakdown of this interception and this. And I got to thinking, and I was like, you know what? In order for me to do like real play breakdowns, we got to speak the same language. If I'm talking cover 4 box coverage, versus the double post, you need to understand what I'm talking about, or it's not going to really make sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start teaching. I'm just gonna start teaching football. I'm just gonna start teaching football to fans, and then I started thinking about kids. I got sons. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start teaching football. People always talk about my brain and being a coach. I was like, I'm gonna start teaching football. And then I got to thinking more. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call my channel the DB room, because everywhere I've always been, the DBs always have the coolest room. Everybody always want to hang out with the DBs. So I was like, you know what? I'm a call it the DB room. And we do a lot of stuff in the DB room. We have guest speakers. We talk football. We talk life. We're not just focused on being great football players. We try to be great human beings and how we can influence other people. So I was like, that's kind of what I want my channel to be about. I don't want it to just be about, hey, come here for a play breakdown to be a better football player. Yeah, we're going to do some of that stuff, but we're also going to have people come in and we're going to talk about life and how we can be better and how we can inspire and motivate people. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want to do, right? You want to be the best you that you can be. So let's be the best football player we can be. Let's be the best fan that we could be. And then let's be the best person that we can be. And so that's kind of what I did. And so I started, doing live interviews once a week. Try to do it once a week. It gets kind of tough because I'm a one-man crew,
Yeah. How that goes.
It get kind of tough, man, trying to get everything prepared and all that stuff. But, it's been fun, man. I love doing it. And I literally just sit in my house and do it live. And, I love the feeling of doing it live, because as athletes, a lot of times people see us as these great guys, right? These great people, and they don't feel like we have flaws. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they see people that screw up in TV and on the news, but a lot of times they feel like we are these urban myths, or they're just people that just like, we only exist on TV, right? And so when you do things on live, man, your flaws show, things happen live, and it's just like, man, I didn't know how to do that, or, hey, that was wrong, but, and it just kind of shows the human side of it, man. And that's kind of one thing that I love, is being able to show the human side of athletes. We're athletes, and this is what we do for a living, but we're human just like everybody else. We wake up the same way, we do the same things. And so I love it, man. It's fun, and like I said, it's easy for me. Well, not easy, but I get to sit in my house and have a good time with it.
Yeah, you can definitely tell you're having fun with it. And yeah, to your point, the live stuff, I've been recording a lot of my podcasts and Instagram live, and it's real life. We have a phone for a second. I came in here all sweaty today, just got off a bike ride, my fan's not working right or whatever. But I think there's something to, though, the authenticity, of having a real conversation with somebody, which I think is something great that you've been doing. Who do you have coming on the show next?
I got I don't know actually when this is gonna air, but I got Calvin coming on. I got.
Here,
Hello?
Glover. Yeah, we had a little
Yeah,
quick.
I said I got Calvin Johnson coming on tonight.
Okay. Okay. And that's is it 7 o'clock Eastern or Central? What time does it start?
It's gonna be 8 o'clock, so 8 o'clock tonight Central.
Right. Alvin Johnson. How many you played with him? How many years in Detroit?
I played with him. He retired in 15, so I played with him 3 seasons.
Wow. So not just DBs in the DB room. You let a wide receiver in.
Oh man, I said at the beginning, we don't discriminate. Everybody loves to hang out in the DB room. Everybody's welcome in the DB room. Come in, come join the show, come check it out. You want to be on, let me know. We'll try to get people on. Just want to have a good time and create a good platform for guys to be themselves and talk.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Calvin Johnson tonight on the DB room. So make sure to check that out. Yeah, we'll post this podcast tomorrow, so it'll be up after the fact. But definitely looking forward to checking that. And after you finish the shows, they're all up on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, they're all on my YouTube channel, the DB Room. Like I said, it's live streams, it's some play breakdowns, just talking, coverages, different things, some stories. It's a whole bunch of stuff on there, man. Go check it out.
What was Calvin Johnson like going up against in practice or in games if you ever played against him in a game?
Man, he was a monster, man. He was a monster, bro. Like this dude worked extremely hard. I mean, he could run like a gazelle. He was big. He was a cheat code, man. He was the nicest guy, quiet, So I can't wait to ask him about, what it was like to be Calvin Johnson and what it was like to be Megatron, because
Yeah,
it was actually two totally different people.
yeah. The good segue into just wanted to talk a little bit about your NFL background. We touched on it a little bit at the beginning. You also played with Andre Johnson in Houston for quite a while. I know you guys were good friends. What are some of your memories of Andre?
Man, I remember the first time I met Andre, man. I was a little rookie. I was starstruck. I remember coming into the player lounge back then, but the whole group of rookies. We show up for physicals and OTAs, and I show up and we go in the player lounges, all of the rookies, and there's nobody in the players lounge but Andre Johnson. He's sitting on the couch in front of the TV. He got his Subway sandwich and some chips, on the table, and he's sitting there in front of the TV. And the door opens up, and 15, 16 guys come in, or all the rookies, right? Andre didn't turn his head one time. Like, he kept eating his food, he kept watching the TV. All of us came in and we kind of stood around, and nobody wanted to sit on the couch. Nobody sat on the couch, and we just stood around and we let him eat his food. And I kid you not, it took me a few weeks or maybe even almost a month before I could even like speak to him. It was just like that. We would go out to practice, and my roommate at the time, Bryce McCain, we would always come home and be like, "Man, did you speak to Andre today?" He was like, "Nah, man, I couldn't say nothing to him." And I remember I caught an interception in practice, and I was running it back, and Andre wasn't in at the time, and he kind of faked like he was going to like tag me off or tackle me. And when he did that, I went back to the room and I was like, "Hey, man, I spoke to Andre today," because after practice I ended up saying something to him. So it was just kind of like, man, I finally got to say something to Andre. But it was just kind of like, I felt like once I had caught a few picks and then he ended up trying to like go after me, I kind of felt like, all right, maybe, I could say something to him now. I felt like I had to earn the right to say something to him. Man, it was crazy. But
Funny,
Andre was a monster, man.
yeah. You hear a lot of guys say stuff like that played with him as well. But yeah, definitely a living legend, in his own time here in Houston. For people that don't remember, I mean, that 2010 season, which I think was your second season, right, was
Yeah.
for the Texans. That was I think the pass defense had a really hard season, and a lot of you guys were kind of thrown to the fire there. You kind of had your feet thrown to the fire and had to hit the ground running from the start of your career. What do you remember about the beginning of your career in Houston?
Like I said, I remember coming in for OTAs, and I caught 3 picks the first 3 days, and um, I kind of got off to a good start in OTAs. I think I ended up with 5 throughout the OTAs, and we come back for training camp. Like I said, I was playing nickel. I wasn't even really. They didn't draft me to play corner. They drafted me to play the nickel, and that's what I was doing. And the season starts, and I remember the first game played against the Jets. And, it was a tough game. We got beat. Mark Sanchez beat us at home opening day. And, we go to Tennessee the next week, and we beat Tennessee in a great game, get to fighting a little bit. That was always fun. And then all of a sudden I'm thrown out there, and I'm the guy that's starting. And as a rookie, only thing I knew was play to my strengths. Play to my strengths, and my strength was being a physical guy and having good ball skills. I was never a cover corner. I didn't come out as just a super fast, legit cover corner, but I could play football. I had good technique, and I could survive because I was smart. And so I wanted to make sure that I played to those strengths of mine and just be consistent, And so, I remember all those games. I remember playing on, man, so many games my rookie year. Like, playing against Peyton Manning was crazy. It was scary all at the same time. It was all, like, crazy, man. I didn't catch one interception my whole rookie year. Matter of fact, I didn't catch an interception until November of my second year. But I had a lot of tackles, man. It was just fun, man. I could constantly feel myself getting more comfortable, getting better. Obviously, the coaches liked what I was doing. I kept starting, kept playing, and yeah, man. But that second year, like you said, we didn't play well. I think we finished up, almost last in defense. We had got rid of Dante Robinson, so it was me and Kareem at the corner, 2 young guys. I was a second year guy, and I was asked to be like the leader of the corners, and I'm sitting here like, man, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to survive, and it worked out though. It worked out. We ended up getting Wade the next year, and we went from almost the worst defense to the best defense. And so I went on to do well in my career, and Kareem has went on to do well in his career. So we got thrown to the fire, but I must say I think we swam a little bit.
For sure. What stands out to you when you think back about the playoff seasons in 2011 and 12 in Houston?
Man, those years were so much fun, man. We played some, like, the defense that we were playing off. That was, like, all around some of the best teams offensively, having Aaron Foster in the backfield, Matt Schaub, Andre Johnson, Owen Daniels, Dwayne Brown, Chris Myers, Ed Winston, all those guys, Kevin Walters, Jacoby for a year. And then defensively I think we've had 8 guys on that defense have made Pro Bowls throughout their career. I think, you look in the secondary, you had me, you had J. Joe who's made Pro Bowls, Kareem and D-Man didn't make one yet. And then you had D'Amico Ryans, Brian Cushion, Connor Barwin, Mario Williams at the linebackers with Sean Cody, Antonio Smith, J.J. Watt. Like, that was a crazy defense, and we started out kind of slow that year. We started out, I think we were 2-2, maybe even 3-2, or 2-3, and then we went on like a 7-game winning streak. It just something happened, and we went on a 7-game winning streak, and we just whooping teams, and we ended up getting like 10-3, I think, and we had clinched a playoff spot. We beat Cincinnati up in Cincinnati, and clinched our first division. And so I think we ended up losing the last 3 games that season because we kind of rested or wasn't playing. I think we ended up 10-6, but we had already won our division. And that first playoff game against Cincinnati was, man, it was crazy. It was crazy, man. It was fun. It was an electric atmosphere, and to get the win was incredible too. Obviously, we lost the next game in Baltimore. We got off to a great start on those guys. Should have had that game going. A couple plays turned it, and we lost that one. But then to come back the next year 2012, and I think we started out it was like 5-1 or something like that. No, it was like 5-0, and then we lost to Green Bay, I think, on Sunday Night Football. Got beat pretty good. Aaron Rodgers did us in, but then we came back the next week, I think, against Baltimore and beat them like 40-something to 14 or something like that. And we ended up going, 12-4 that year. It was like 12-2 at one point. And that's probably the one thing that hurt us is, we got to 12-2 and we lose at home to Minnesota in week 16 when we could have clinched the number 1 seed. And then we had to go on the road to Indy in week 17 and we ended up losing that one. So instead of getting the number 1 seed, we ended up getting a 3 seed. And so in doing that, if we'd have been the number 1 seed, we'd end up having to play Baltimore again, which they had a good run, but the way we had played them early in the year, I think we would have had some real good momentum and real good feelings about going out and beating those guys in the playoffs. But we ended up getting a 3 seed, so we played Cincinnati again, the 6, and then we ended up having to go to New England to play the 2. And we ended up losing, and Baltimore went to Denver and beat the 1, and Baltimore went on to win the Super Bowl. So, that was some regretful times. Obviously, wishing that we could have closed out that season, but nonetheless, man, it was fun, man. It was some great runs, some great games, man. Electric atmosphere. I learned a lot, and a lot of that stuff I took with me to Detroit to try to help turn that organization around. So, it worked out good for me.
We have a comment from Global Kid Media that said Lions are missing the energy of Glover. I see a lot of Lions fans on here just commenting how they but, I always say that, in my opinion, the Texans letting you go, or you left in free agency, and the Texans not re-signing you, I think is one of the biggest mistakes that the franchise has ever made. And I think a lot of Houston fans would agree with that. I got to ask you about that, about, what that was like, and were you disappointed when the way all that went down?
Yeah, well, I used to say that and kind of feel that way up until they just let DeAndre Hopkins go. So I feel like that kind of trumps, me. But that was a crazy time because, like I said, I wanted to stay here, and I felt like I was coming into a part of my career where I was the future. Looking at secondary, looking at everything that I was being asked to do, I felt like I was the future, and I wanted to stay. Rick Smith and them kind of drug me around, kind of telling me they were going to re-sign me when I kind of felt like they knew the whole time that they wasn't. And I kind of knew it as well. I knew something was going to have to shake because we had a lot of money tied up in the secondary. They had signed Jonathan Joseph the year before to a big deal. They had signed Danielle Manning to a big deal. So we had 2 big deals in the secondary. They had drafted Kareem first round, so he was taking up a lot of money. So I knew for me to get a deal that I felt like I was worth or I wanted, that would have been a lot of money tied up in the secondary. And I understood that, but I held out hope that they would make something happen. And like I said, Rick was telling me that they was going to do it. But once the offseason came, I didn't hear anything from those guys. And then, even up until, I'm on my visit in Detroit. And, when I went on my visit to Detroit, I didn't go out there, honestly, with the intentions of signing. I went out there, with the intentions of hopefully the Texans would feel like, okay, he's actually going to leave us and make me a good offer. And when I went out there, the Lions showed me a lot of love and they made me an offer. And even when they made the offer, I hit my agent. I was like, hey, hit the Texans and see if they'll match the offer. Because if they'd have matched the offer, I would have stayed, right? But when my agent hit the Texans, from what I was told, and I saw it on TV, the Texans released the fact that I had agreed to terms with the Lions. And I had never even agreed to terms with the Lions. So you could see it on TV. It said Glover Quin agrees to terms with the Lions. Then it comes right back. Glover Quin does not agree to terms with the Lions. And then I was like, I talked to my agent, and he was like, all right, well, you know what? One thing about me, I always wanted to go somewhere where I was wanted and be somewhere where I was wanted. I was like, the Texans obviously don't want me. The Detroit Lions do, so let's make it work with Detroit. And so that's how I ended up signing in Detroit, which, I mean, I told somebody the other day, probably was one of the best decisions of my career, looking at it in hindsight. But, yeah, you know, leaving Houston was tough, man. It was tough. I cried, you know, but that was a part of it.
Well, we've had a lot of Detroit fans here on the Instagram Live commenting. Speaking of Detroit, I mean, you had a great career in Detroit. 6 years, started every game. Like I mentioned at the top, you led the NFL in interceptions in 2014, made the Pro Bowl. What are some fond memories that stand out to you about the city of Detroit and your time there?
Man, you know, I had a great time there, man. You know, from the time I got there to when I left, you know, to be able to help the organization, try to turn that organization around, help the city. Um, I mean, hardworking people out there, man, and you know, fans loved it. You know, I just kind of took pride in trying to be the guy to turn it around, to try to gain respect because from playing those guys, we always looked at Detroit and was like, man, those guys got a lot of talent, and you never could understand why they couldn't win. And so when I got a chance to go there, I wanted to do everything I could to try to like fix that, to help them to win because they always had talent. And even when I got there, they had tons of talent. But it was like, how can we, you know, fix the organization, get the players to change mentality so, you know, we can win games. And so that was a big thing of mine, man. And, you know, Coach Caldwell came in and helped out. And, you know, our personalities matched. And, you know, we created a great environment out there. And you know, being able to make the playoffs, play in some, you know, some division championship games in week 17 against Green Bay. Like, no, we didn't win those games. And people be like, well, you know, y'all didn't win them. So y'all like, but when you think about an organization, man, you have to build, you have to grow, you have to build. And so to go from being an afterthought in the division to actually playing in championship games, like you're changing the culture. Yeah, it may take, you know, some players to come in and help you get over that hump. Obviously, they thought it took a new coach to get over that hump, and you know they've taken some steps backwards. But to the years that I had out there, those 6 years, you know, football wise was great. You know, and was able to lead the league in interceptions. The impact I had off the field with the community, the impact in the locker room, like it was something. Like I said, probably ended up being probably one of the best decisions that I made.
Yeah, we had a comment from Sunny KH that said Detroit is so blessed that happened, that you went there. Shelby said hashtag one pride. And a couple other comments. And Texans. I wanted to ask you just as we close things out here, and again, if you're just joining, check out Glover's accounts on Instagram and YouTube, the DB Room show he's been hosting weekly on YouTube. They've already got over 1,000 subscribers. He's going with Calvin Johnson, Megatron, later tonight. It's going to be live. And Clix Media is Glover's video production company that he's been doing. Ramo XX23 said, best player in Detroit, in all caps. And another shout out about what's up, Lobo legend. And so I want to
Yeah.
ask before the NFL. So Lobos, of course, your alma mater, New Mexico. Before that, you and I both grew up in Mississippi. And I wanted to ask you just about how you got from there to the NFL. You know, you're from Macomb, right? Is where
Yeah.
you're from. How many people live in Macomb?
I don't even know right now. I mean, I think the whole Pike County is probably about 40,000. So Macomb might be 20 of that, maybe,
Yeah.
if that. I don't really know. You know, Macomb is. I'm actually from Summit. It's in Pike County. It's right next to Macomb. So a lot of people haven't heard of Summit. So I kind of say Macomb. It's just kind of like, you know, being from, you know, Richmond, but most people might say I'm from Houston, you know,
Right.
because, you know, you don't know Richmond like that. But yeah, so, you know, I ended up going JUCO. I went to JUCO out of high school, and you know, I didn't get recruited. like by any of the big schools coming out. I was getting recruited by, I guess, Mississippi State. Never got offered. They had a coaching change that year. Sherwood left. Kroom came in. So that didn't work out for me. And so I went JUCO. I had grades and everything. So I went to JUCO with the plans of playing one semester and leaving. And I ended up breaking my arm my first year. So I had to stick around and play the next year. Well, the next year came and Hurricane Katrina hit. So we only had 8 games. 2 of those got canceled. So I only had 6 games. So I only played 8 games. I played 2 games my first year at JUCO and missed the rest of the season. Then 6 games my second year. So I played in 8 total games in JUCO. And, I think the thing that helped me was the fact that I had grades and I could play because New Mexico recruited a lot of Mississippi JUCO at the time because, being in between Texas and Arizona and California, New Mexico was always getting like the bottom tier recruits. All those other guys were going to the bigger schools. But playing in the Mountain West with BYU, Utah, TCU at the time, all those bigger schools, they had to recruit JUCO to be able to compete. They had to recruit guys that could come in and help them play. And so the year I went out there, they had just graduated 3 seniors. They had 3 senior corners, and all 3 of them left. And so they needed some corner help big time. And so they came to Mississippi JUCO, and I was one of those guys that was, showed ability that could play. But also I had the grades. I was graduating that December anyway, so I was able to leave mid-year to go out in the spring and be able to go through spring ball with them. So I was an attractive prospect, and, it all worked out. I went out there on a visit, and once again, I had no idea about New Mexico, but they wanted me, and that was kind of the theme of my career. I always wanted to, show love and do whatever I could for people that wanted me. I said this on one of my stories. It was like, I never wanted to prove people wrong. I always wanted to prove people right, people that believed in me. So New Mexico, they wanted me. Bump it, let's go. And I went to New Mexico, and it worked out. And so that's just kind of been a theme for me, man. And I don't know. I had a great time in New Mexico. I met my wife in New Mexico. I grew up, I tell people all the time, I wasn't afraid to leave home. I went 16, 17 hours away from home because I had a dream. I had a goal. I had something that I wanted to do, and I did it. And, leaving home was something that I had to conquer, and I didn't let that stop me.
Yeah, I think my high school actually, I was in Gulfport on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I think we played in Summit a couple times, and it was a long bus ride for us. But we're talking a really small town. Growing up as a kid there, did you have aspirations for the NFL, or how realistic did you think that was from a small town in Mississippi?
I mean, it was tough, man. The NFL seemed so far away growing up there. The closest team to you is the New Orleans Saints, and that's an hour and a half, 2 hours away. But it just seems so far away because you're in the country. We didn't have any players showing up to our school. It just seemed so far away. It seemed like it only existed on TV. That was just kind of how it was, and so I just kind of felt like I had to do everything that I could do to give myself a chance. And so first thing was I had to have the grades. I had to stay out of trouble, have the grades so that I can go to school and continue to get the opportunity to play. And one that I do, my dad drove me a lot just because, he was a great football player, and I grew up hearing all about how great he was. And, I wanted to outdo my dad. And one thing I told myself is, my dad told me a lot of stories about what he could have done and what he should have done. And I appreciated all those stories because what I took from those stories is I didn't want to have to tell my kids what I could have done or what I should have done. So I was like, I'm going to go as far as I can go. And I'm going to tell my kids that I stopped when I wanted to stop, not, out of high school and wish that, what I could have played. And so I appreciate my dad for telling me all that stuff and being vulnerable with me and talking to me about it. And, I took it to heart, and, we've talked about it, and he's got the opportunity to experience all of the NFL stuff through me. And he's told me how appreciative he is of that. And so that's all been good, man. Um, but it was tough, man. It was tough. I will say that it was tough.
Yeah, and along those lines, I did want to ask you just some news that came out of Mississippi over the last few days. The legislature finally voted to change the flag, state flag, to remove the Confederate flag from the corner of it. I think the governor signed a bill yesterday to finally change that. What are your thoughts on that, as someone who grew up there?
I mean, I think that's a good move. I feel like that's, in the climate that we're in right now. I mean, I feel like that flag, that symbol, it symbolizes so many things that, um, are not good in our country. And so for people to finally be taking note of that and, trying to make change, it's symbolizing that, you know, we are hopefully on the right track to creating change. And, Mississippi is obviously one of those southern, states, and, racism and things like that, you know, it's still alive in some of those places down there. I'm not gonna even try to sugarcoat it. It is still alive in some of those places down there. So to have something like that happen, can send a big message that, hey, we're not going to tolerate that stuff. We're trying to change and really mean it, really do something about it, not just talk about it, but really do something about it. So I didn't even know that until you told me about it the other day, and so I was happy to see that.
Yeah. Do you still have family in Mississippi?
Yeah, my dad still live there. I got one of my sisters still live there and her family. So, obviously all my cousins and stuff live out there. But, um, yeah, my mom still live out there, man. My dad, so I go back there every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I can remember in high school, driving by that flag with, basketball games and football games with my teammates, and the bus just going quiet and things like that. I mean, do you have memories like that from growing up and seeing that in your childhood?
No, I really don't, man. Like I didn't really, the town that I grew up in. Um, I can't speak for everybody else. I didn't really experience racism that I can remember.
Mm.
I went to a predominantly white school. Um, I was a good athlete. I was a good student. I was voted Mr. North Pike, of my school. We did have some things that were, I would guess, I would say segregatish. We had separate proms. We had a black prom and a white prom. Um, you know, but we graduated together. Classes were together. Like everything else was kind of normal. But I don't really remember anything as far as seeing a flag and it wasn't just thrown in our face a lot. It wasn't just hanging around and we see it all the time. Um, so it wasn't one of those things that was just hugely prevalent in my face or in my life when I was growing up and where I grew up at.
Yeah, we have some comments from someone just says about time they did that. Somebody's asking if you play 2K. I know you were a really good Madden player back in the day. Are you?
Nah, man, I don't have time to game anymore, man. I can't remember the last time I played a game. Every now and then, I guess my kids ask me to come up and play. They think they're getting a little better, so I play them a little bit, but that's
Man.
about it.
Well, again, Glover Quin, I want to thank you for joining, man. And again, this full video will be up later on YouTube, on the Scurf Show, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And just one more time, Glover, could you just tell people where they can find Clix Media in the DB room?
Man, you can follow us on Instagram, Clicks Media US, the DB Room. I run that page. That's my channel where I talk football and inspire, motivate. You can find us on YouTube in the DB Room. You can find me on Facebook. It's actually my Glover Quin. It's a fan page that I actually run. I can't change the name to the DB Room yet, so I just still kind of use it like the DB Room Instagram, Facebook page. So tonight we'll be streaming. Calvin Johnson should be on Facebook, should be on YouTube. Hopefully I set everything up right so that it streams to both places. But hey, never know. It might work, it might not. Hopefully it do though. So, but it should be on one of those platforms, YouTube or Facebook. So, and that's kind of it, man. That's what I do. It's fun, and appreciate Nick for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's great to see you staying busy and that creative outlet out there. And if you need video production, look them up. Looking forward to seeing more of the DB room, Glover. Thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate catching up with you.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks.